So in going through the discussions that we've had, oftentimes you share stories of folks seeing your platform and saying, gosh, I wish I had this myself. Gene, we loved Penelope, but can you tell the audience who may not be familiar with Penelope who you are and what you do?
I am Jean Smart. I'm the CEO and founder of Penelope. We are a software company that focuses on retirement for very small businesses, working with large enterprises and intermediaries to make these retirement plans accessible, affordable, and super easy for these organizations that serve these companies.
So at the heart of who you are, Gene, that we assessed, you're a problem solver. So can you share some current and maybe some future problems you're solving through Penelope?
So the biggest one that everyone is always looking at is the TAM, the entire market opportunity. So having been in wealth and asset management for 20 plus years, I always knew retirement was big. What I didn't know was that it was so closely wired and knit to the Fortune 5000. The lack of closing that gap within the smaller employee base was a little bit shocking to me. So, for example, there are 34 million businesses in the US, and about 25 million are sole props. Sole props could have spouses as employers. I mean, those are really small. And of those 34 million, there's only 700,000 401k plans. So there's a lot of white space, a lot of upside. But the problem is, and I come from that side, I just assumed I've had a retirement plan since I was 21, since I started working. I just thought everybody did. I didn't realize that was not the case. But how much the whole key is to starting early. Dollar cost averaging, the power of compounding. If you just put a little bit of away from the time you're 21, you will have $1 million, hands down. Let the market grow. So I knew that, I had experienced that, and to know that there's a whole swath of workers, of employees without access, not looking at it, and not having access to it was kind of an obvious sort of disconnect. But again, having worked in this space, when you look under the hood, it's complicated. There are a lot of steps. There's a huge daisy chain. It's not just B to B to C, it's B to B to B to B to B to C, which is why it's hard to get to that final C, the worker. So I knew there was opportunity and we're there. We had been going direct to a lot of these small businesses. They still take time. But the fact that we are white labeling and licensing it to now provide it to existing distribution channels with hundreds of thousands of small businesses or millions of small businesses, and to be able to help them create efficiencies and grow organically, that will help us scale and go much faster. And that's the path we're on right now.
What advice would you have for any founders that are contemplating going through this experience with the TFC that you could offer?
Starting a company and being venture backed or going through this process, thinking about it and talking about it and doing it and continuing to show up every day and doing it are two completely separate things. And it's a test. Two things. One is a little bit around sort of holistic health, your personal health, having your friends, your family, your mental health, sort of ecosystem, like try to sleep, eat. And I only say that because I mean, I think I was getting up in the middle of the night for a couple years at the beginning, and I'm like finally trying to sort of get back in it. So I think this is that marathon component. So there's a pace yourself. And the other thing is, no matter how hard you are on yourself, forgive yourself. Like, forget it. Like, say, I screwed up there. That was a mistake. Forgive yourself. Turn the page, move on to the next one. Don't dwell, don't over punish yourself. I think, mistakes are part of the whole process, and how do you get better without it? And you start building this like tough, like rhino skin around what for me, it's like my family. If my teenage daughter is like screaming or yelling at me to help her with her homework or do something, I mean, that is the person right in front of you. And I would say, um, yeah, just forget it. Move on to the next one, because there are other fires to put out, there are other things to dream about, and there's other work to be done.
What advice would you have for any founders that are contemplating going through this experience with the TFC that you could offer?
Yeah, I would say playing the long game, because that's what retirement and insurance, that's what all of this is about, and staying the course and like just cutting out the noise, and staying focused is super critical. And one of the first things I did at the beginning of this year after that initial sort of funding was don't have 50 goals or even 20, like have three. And when you focus on those three, and I've pretty much and effectively gotten there. So whether there's more strategic opportunities ahead, IPO isn't for everybody. Fundraising ad nauseum is not for everybody. Strategic growth is the right way to do it, but that means a lot of different things. So I think in a time of uncertainty, you want to think through. It's not about typing faster or spending more hours and spinning your wheels. It's about just really digesting and being thoughtful and shedding everything else out. And that's what I've really been trying to do this year.
Thank you, Gene, for sharing your insights, sharing your time with us, sharing the story of Penelope. As I mentioned, we have so much admiration for what you've designed and built, and are excited to continue on with the journey and support you in multiple different ways. But thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Chair.